Story now, 30-year-old Teboho Mafodi had to drop out of school at grade 11 to fend for himself and look after his family. This is a typical story for many young South Africans. However, Mafodi refused to give up on life and later went back to finish his education through night school. He then ventured into a series of businesses which have led to the establishment of now is what are called the TM Group. This self-made entrepreneur is now a millionaire and still climbing the ladder of success. We celebrate him today and his journey as we mark Global Entrepreneurship Week. He joins me now in studio. Teboho, congratulations. I guess before we get into your background, just explain to us the different facets of the TM Group.
Okay, for instance, a TM Group, it's a conglomerate. To those that don't know, it's a conglomerate. It means it's a company that's into more than one sector. I mean, we have interest in the construction and property development space. We've got interest in the media and production space. You know, that's the space that we've practically been playing. And obviously, we started off mainly as an IT business, believe it or not, because I was fortunate enough to actually be sent to school by the former president, Thabo Mbeki, to actually do information communications technology at TUT.
Take us back to that time, or maybe a little bit before that time. Explain to us how it was for you growing up.
You know what, I always say I grew up in the not most so fortunate background, because it was a typical child where I had to go to school with shoes that had holes underneath. And I had to actually put a cardboard inside my shoes for me not to actually get spiked or anything going to school. And for instance, back in the days, I remember at the time my mother wanted to actually be independent, and there was no how. She was unemployed. She was volunteering at the local clinic. And we actually erect sharks within Whiteville. There's an informal settlement called Lakeview there, you know, and using one public toilet, one public tap as well. Or as a child, these things you don't understand. But one thing I remember about this though is that one thing I knew that I was destined to be successful. It didn't matter. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. But
you just
I knew
it in your mind.
Yes. Because I had to change my background. I had to change the situation. Hence, I always say to people, for instance, if ever you're born in a poor background, it's not your fault. But if ever you die in the same situation, it's definitely your fault.
Yeah, sure. Great point. Great point. So then, where did the break come? I mean, you dropped out of school. What happened?
Okay. For instance, I mean, after what I did, I was recognized by an IT a company because I was actually a self-taught IT guru from the background of my house. And what happened is that, for instance, they actually gave me an opportunity to actually learn and be one of their IT technicians.
Explain to us, what were you playing with? I mean, how did it all come about?
For instance, it actually started off in high school. You know, when they were doing these contests, Mr. and Mrs. whatsoever, and we had to find a DJ. So when we were going to go look for a DJ, because I was in the SRC, we found this guy using a computer to play music. I was actually fascinated by that. But the minute he started playing movies and a TV on this computer box, I think I was blown away, because that was the closest I could see a computer other than when I go to pay municipal rates at the shop or anything of that sort. And I think it's something that changed my mind. And with him, I started advertising myself that I type CVs, I fix people's computers. I actually blew them out. Yeah. But the most interesting thing with the guy, he'd always teach me, instead of saying, no, let me fix this for you. He'd say, put it there, you know, do this, do that, do that. And that's how I actually learned. And I started collecting books from a library that talks about how to put together a computer and how to actually explore one. And I actually ended up learning and being good at it, because by the time I actually went to varsity, I was very much good at the IT background.
So then you get employed by this guy. Tell us about the education, how that came about, your being awarded this through the University of Technology through the Thabo Mbeki Education Trust.
Okay. For instance, back in the days, the late Mama Adelaide Tambo, they were starting development centers within the townships with social development. So news spread fast. That's why I always say to people, be so good that it becomes hard for them to resist you. News spread fast that there's this guy who's a self-taught and who comes from this particular township. And what they did, they got me to go back to the township to help them develop these development centers. Part of that, it was actually to teach IT skills within the community so that people can be able to get jobs or be employable. And working there, I think that's where the opportunity came, because obviously they had to send out the reports and whatsoever. So it was fascinating that there's these people that have applied with computer science, engineering degrees and whatsoever, that they didn't get the job. There's this mere kid that is actually self-taught that got the job and that is making a difference within the community. And news spread far with the Presidential National Commission. It eventually got to the president, and he said, no, you know what, I want to send him to school to actually further his studies.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But I guess it doesn't paint a great picture for people who have got degrees and who can't find jobs.
Yeah, you know what? It's sad, I must say, especially with our country, because some of the guys, it's people that are employed today. And for instance, I run a couple of graduation placement programs within my company where they come in, we give them internship or in-service training for some time. But it's quite something that is said within our country. I think that needs to be improved with time, so that let, for instance, academics be on par with the marketplace. Because, for instance, the marketplace looks more for experience than having what a qualification. It's a bonus, but sometimes one can have so much qualifications but no experience to actually execute the work.
You made an interesting point off air. Often you said you're into the property game now, and often people don't know where to invest their money at the moment.
You know, it's true. I mean, for us, we made a conscious decision as a company, because what I've realized that the world's most greatest wealthy people, they invest their money to property. I mean, for instance, certain investments, they depreciate. I don't encourage any, I'm not discouraging anybody from saving or doing investments or anything. For us, or for me, I felt that the safest one was property, because property always goes up in terms of the market. And another thing right now with the new, for instance, National Credit Act, sometimes people, it's become difficult for them to actually get bonds. So that's a market that I'm servicing. It's student residence and rental properties. So that we decided to invest in, so that we know once they get leased and whatsoever, we definitely make up our money out of that.
How many people do you employ now?
For instance, in terms of my office, my permanent staff, I've got about 12 guys. And for instance, I've got about 8, for instance, temporal guys. And other guys, they come as and when, obviously, as far as construction is concerned, whenever we have development. So they come as and when they need it.
Brilliant, my man, brilliant. TM Group, is there a website? People can go and have a look at it?
Yes, they can go to www.thetmgroup.co.za, or even my personal site, tebohomafodi.co.za. And interesting enough with that, we've actually launched a new brand called the 360 Capability, where we were trying to give back to the community or other entrepreneurs to say they can transform their life 360, or even their businesses for that matter.
That's my last question to you. We've got 30 seconds. For people who are sitting out there who have a similar brain to you, because I think it is a mindset. It's not necessarily your education, it's a mindset. You knew you were going to be successful. For people who are sitting out there who are wanting to be successful or have that similar mindset to you but don't have that drive, what would you say to them?
I mean, for instance, what I'd say is that, you know what, stop feeling sorry for yourself. This world is not in favor of you. You just need to make something out of yourself and make something the best out of your situation. The situation, for the situation to change, it all depends on you. It depends on the effort that you put it in. I always say, I make it my business to know my business. Know what is happening around you. Where are opportunities? Because with the opportunities that we have, we don't have an excuse. I mean, for instance, comparing to Nigerian entrepreneurs, they're not dependent on the government. They dictate into the government as business, this is what we want. I think we can definitely do the same.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. My man, Teboho Mafodi, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming to chat to us. Real inspiration, I guess, this morning on Vuka Africa. Get onto his website at tebohomafodi.co.za. Is that right? Or the TM Group. Get onto their websites. It's a positive stories of entrepreneurship as we celebrate a Global Entrepreneurship Week.